My sister arrived at my new house with a moving truck, a dresser, 2 suitcases, and a smile that told me she thought the fight was already over. She thought the word family would still work on me. But Brooke did not know I had already changed every lock, saved the security footage, and spoken to a lawyer. She did not know I had spent my whole life being trained to give in, and one weekend finally taught me how to say no. My name is Jenna Miller. I was 30, when I bought my first house in Charlotte, North Carolina. It was not a mansion. It was a modest brick home with a blue front door, 3 bedrooms, a fenced backyard, and a kitchen window that caught the morning sun so beautifully that I cried the first time my realtor placed the keys in my hand. I cried because it was mine. Only mine. For 9 years, I worked overtime as an operations manager at a logistics company and saved every dollar I could because I wanted one thing more than luxury. I wanted a front door nobody could open without my permission. That may sound dramatic unless you come from a family like mine. In my family, anything good that happened to me became something everyone else felt entitled to use. If I got a bonus, Brooke needed help with rent. If I had a free Saturday, my mother needed errands. If I bought furniture, my father asked why I had not bought something big enough for family gatherings. When she quit jobs, they said she was stressed. When she borrowed money and never paid me back, they said I was better with money anyway. When she wrecked my car, they said I had to forgive her because she was going through a hard time. I was always the steady one. That was just a polite way of saying I was expected to absorb everyone else's chaos. So I bought the house quietly. My realtor knew, my lender knew, my best friend Olivia knew. That was it. I planned to move in slowly, paint one room at a time, and tell my family after I had settled and made the boundaries clear. But my family found out before I was ready. It happened on a Thursday evening. I had just come back from the hardware store with curtain rods, cabinet pulls, and a small bag of tools. When I turned onto my street, I saw my parents' black SUV sitting in my driveway. For 1 second, I thought someone must have died. Then I saw Brooke through the living room window. She was standing on my brand, new rug with a Starbucks cup in her hand, slowly turning like she was touring a house she had already claimed. My mother was in the kitchen opening cabinets. My father was in the hallway, looking at the walls like he was deciding what could fit there. None of them looked ashamed. That was the part that scared me. I walked inside and asked, "What are you doing here?" Brooke smiled like I was late to a party. "There you are." Mom found the address. My mother, Elaine, closed one cabinet and opened another. "You bought a whole house and did not tell your own family." My father, Ron, scowled. "Your mother saw the mail and got worried." The mail, one envelope from the title company, had gone to my old apartment by mistake. My mother still had a spare key to that apartment, a key I had given her years ago for emergencies. Not for visiting, not for snooping, not for opening private mail. But my mother had always treated access like permission. "You went through my mail," I asked. She waved her hand. It was on the counter. "In my apartment? With my key. For emergencies." And she sighed like I was being difficult. "The point is, you hid this from us?" I kept my private business private. Brooke laughed and looked toward the stairs. "Well, I see why. This house is worth living in." The way she said it made my stomach tighten. What does that mean? She looked back at me, as if the answer was obvious. My lease ends next month, but honestly, I can move in this weekend. The upstairs bedroom with the big window is perfect for me. Mom says the smaller room could be her sewing space. For a few seconds, I could not speak. Then I said, "You are not moving in?" Brooke blinked. "Excuse me? You heard me." My mother stepped closer with that soft voice she used to cover a demand. "Honey, Brooke is struggling. You have all this space." "I have all this space because I bought it." My father folded his arms. "Do not talk to your mother like that. Family helps family. Family asks before entering someone's home." Brooke rolled her eyes. "You have 3 bedrooms and no husband, no kids, and no reason to hoard everything." That sentence was meant to hurt. She knew I had once wanted marriage and children. She knew I had ended an engagement after being cheated on. She knew this house was not just property to me. It was proof that I had survived and built something anyway. I looked at my mother, waiting for her to correct Brooke. She did not. I looked at my father. He shrugged. "You are alone anyway." Something inside me went quiet. I set the hardware store bag down, opened the front door, and said, "Get out." They argued all the way to the driveway. Brooke called me selfish. My mother cried. My father told me I would regret pushing away the only people who cared about me. But when their SUV finally left, I did not break down. I called a locksmith. By midnight, every exterior lock had been replaced. The next morning, I installed a camera doorbell and 2 outdoor cameras. I saved the footage of them entering my house without permission. Then I called Olivia. After I told her everything, she was quiet for a moment. "Jenna," she said, "they are going to come back." "I know. What are you going to do?" I looked at the blue front door, now locked with a key only I held. "I am going to let them show everyone who they are." Sunday came with bright blue skies and the kind of peaceful morning that makes consequences look polite. At 80:43, my doorbell camera sent an alert to my phone. A rented moving truck rolled up in front of my house. Behind it came Brooke's silver sedan, my parents' SUV, and a pickup driven by Brooke's boyfriend, Travis. Brooke stepped out wearing sunglasses and a smug expression. My mother got out with a casserole dish, as if bringing food could turn trespassing into family togetherness. I watched from inside. Brooke walked up the porch steps, took out the old key, and pushed it into the new deadbolt. Nothing happened. She tried again. Still nothing. Travis grabbed the key and twisted it hard enough that I heard the scrape from inside. Then my phone started ringing. Brooke. I let it go to voicemail. My mother called next. Then my father. Then Brooke again. Finally, Brooke pounded on the door. "Jenna, open up," she shouted. "The movers are here." I took a slow breath, walked to the door, and opened it only as far as the security chain allowed. Brooke stared at me through the gap. "Why doesn't the key work?" "Because it was never your key." Her mouth tightened. "Do not start. I already finished." My mother leaned closer behind her. "Jenna, this is humiliating. The neighbors are watching. They should watch," I said. "Then nobody has to guess why you are here." My father stepped onto the porch, his face red. "Nuff. Your sister gave notice at her apartment because you said she could come." "I never said that." Brooke threw her hands up. "You did not exactly say no. I said you are not moving in." "You were upset," my mother said. "We assumed you would calm down." That almost made me laugh. In my family, my no was never treated as an answer. It was treated like bad weather. Something inconvenient. Something expected to pass. I opened the door a little wider, keeping the chain in place and my phone in my hand. "I have security footage from Thursday showing you entering my house without permission. I have video of you arriving today with a moving truck after I clearly told you no. If you do not leave my property, I will call the police." Travis laughed from the steps. "You would call the cops on your own family?" "Yes." The word came out so clean that even I heard the difference. My father pointed at me. "You are acting like a spoiled little landlord." "No," I said. "I am acting like the homeowner." The movers had stopped beside the truck. One of them walked toward the porch with a clipboard. "Mom," he said to me, "are we unloading or not?" "No," I said. "No one has permission to move anything into this house." A Brooke spun toward him. "Give us a minute." The mover shook his head. "We cannot place items without the homeowner's approval." That was when Brooke's mask cracked. "You ruined my life," she screamed at me. "You knew my lease was ending. You knew I had nowhere to go. You had places to go," I said. "You chose not to take them." My mother started crying into the casserole dish. "How can you be so cruel?" "Cruel is opening my private mail, entering my home, and planning to take rooms I never offered." My father said, "That is not what happened. It is exactly what happened, and it is all on camera." The word camera changed everything. My father lowered his hand. My mother looked at the doorbell lens. Brooke glanced at the neighbors, suddenly aware that the story she planned to tell might not survive proof. Still, she tried one more thing. Her voice dropped. "Jenna, please, I am your sister. A love without respect is not family. It is a trap. You have 5 minutes to get off my property," I said. Brooke's eyes filled with angry tears. "Everyone is going to know what you did," I nodded. "Make sure you tell them the part where I said no." They left loudly. My mother sobbed. My father muttered that I was breaking the family apart over a few rooms. Travis slammed the truck door hard enough to echo down the street. Brooke stood at the bottom of my steps and pointed at my house. "You think this makes you powerful?" "No," I said. "It makes me safe." She laughed once, bitter and sharp. We will see." I closed the door and saved every second of the video. I thought Sunday would be the end. It was not. That afternoon, Brooke posted a picture of my blue front door on Facebook with the caption, "Imagine having a sister with 3 empty bedrooms who would rather watch you become homeless than help family." She did not mention the moving truck. She did not mention the old key. She did not mention that my mother had opened my mail or that I had already told her no. Brooke did what she always did. She removed the part where she created the problem and began the story at the moment someone refused to rescue her. For the first hour, it worked. Aunt Linda commented that success meant nothing without generosity. My cousin Marcus said money changed people. Someone from my mother's church wrote that a house was just walls unless it was filled with love, which was easy to say when it was not her mortgage being offered to someone else. My grandmother called and left a voicemail telling me family was forever. I sat at my kitchen table, staring at the phone, trying not to shake. The old Jenna would have called everyone. The old Jenna would have explained and apologized and softened the truth to protect Brooke from embarrassment. But the old Jenna did not own this house. I did, so I posted the doorbell video. I did not write a long speech. I wrote, "Brooke was told no before this." My private mail was open to find my address. "This is my home. Nobody has permission to move in." Then I hit post. For 10 minutes, nothing happened. Then everything happened at once. Aunt Linda deleted her comment. Marcus sent me a message that said, "I did not know. My grandmother called again, this time confused instead of disappointed. A woman from my mother's church commented, "Elaine, did you really open her mail?" Brooke deleted her post within an hour. But screenshots had already traveled. At 19:16 that night, my mother called. I answered because some part of me wanted to know whether she could finally say the right thing. She could not. "You embarrassed your sister online," she said. "She lied about me online. She was desperate. She was entitled." My mother inhaled sharply. "That is an ugly way to talk about your own blood. Opening my mail was ugly. Entering my house was ugly. Showing up with a truck was ugly. We were trying to help Brooke. With my house. You have room. I also have a mortgage, locks, and the legal right to decide who lives here." Her voice lowered. "Do you hear yourself?" "Yes," I said. Finally, she went silent. I had spent years fearing that silence. My mother used it like a cold room, and I used to rush to warm it. I used to apologize just to make it stop. This time, I let the silence sit. Then I said, "You are no longer my emergency contact. You do not have permission to collect my mail, enter my property, use my address, or make plans involving my home. So that is it?" she whispered. "You buy a house and abandon your family." "No, I bought a house because I needed a safe place from this family." She hung up. The next morning, I called my old apartment manager and removed my mother's access. I confirmed my change of address. I switched every important account to paperless. Then I called a local attorney named Mr. Wallace. His office smelled like coffee and old books. He listened without interrupting as I explained the spare key, the mail, the first trespass, the moving truck, and the Facebook post. When I finished, he folded his hands. "Do you want them punished?" he asked. "Or do you want them stopped?" The truth was, I wanted both. I wanted my mother to feel the fear I felt when I saw her inside my home. I wanted Brooke to understand my life was not her backup plan. I wanted my father to stop using anger as a shield. But more than revenge, I wanted peace. "I want them stopped," I said. "And I want paperwork," Mr. Wallace nodded. "Good. Paperwork is where boundaries become real to people who ignore words. Be prepared for escalation. People who believe they are entitled to something often become more dangerous when that entitlement is challenged. Sometimes legally, sometimes socially, sometimes financially. Watch for anyone trying to make it look like they had permission. At the time, I thought he was being overly cautious. 4 days later, a utility confirmation arrived at my house. In Brooke's name. I stood in the hallway holding that envelope like it might burn my fingers. Brooke had tried to connect electric service at my address. Not her apartment, not Travis's place. My house. I called the electric company from my kitchen table. I kept my voice calm because the woman on the phone did not deserve my anger. I explained that I was the homeowner and that Brooke did not live there. The representative paused. Then she said carefully, "I cannot discuss another person's account, but I can tell you there is a pending service request connected to this address." My hand went cold around the phone. She told me to send proof of ownership and identification to the fraud department. I did it within the hour. Then I called Mr. Wallace. "That is an attempt to create a paper trail," he said. "For what?" "To support a claim that she lives there or was supposed to live there." A claim. The room seemed to tilt. Brooke had never lived in my house. She had never slept there. She had never paid me. She had never even been invited for dinner. But now she was trying to create evidence that made reality look blurry. That was what my family had always done best. They created a mess and then handed me the mop. This time, I was not cleaning quietly. I made a folder on my laptop called House Boundary. Inside it, I saved the Thursday footage, the Sunday moving truck footage, the Facebook screenshots, my mother's voicemails, the no trespass letters, and the utility envelope. Olivia came over that night with Thai food and a bottle of champagne. "To the locks," she said, raising a plastic cup. I laughed for the first time in days. "To the locks?" She set down her fork. "Jenna, that was planned. I know. Do you think your parents helped?" I wanted to say no. Not because I believed it, but because daughters are sometimes the last people willing to admit what their parents can do. "I think my mother encouraged it," I said. "And I think my father stayed quiet so he could pretend he was not involved." 2 days later, I found out I was right. My cousin Marcus called on a Wednesday night. He sounded uncomfortable. "Jenna, Brooke is saying you agreed to let her stay and then changed your mind because you got mad at Travis." "Of course she is." "She also says she has proof." My stomach tightened. "What proof? Some kind of written agreement?" I sat very still. "I never signed anything." I figured, that is why I called. After we hung up, I checked my email. Nothing. I checked my texts. Nothing. Then I remembered Thursday evening, when my parents had been in my house. My father had not only been looking at the wall, he had been near the small table where I kept closing documents, insurance forms, and a few old papers. I called Mr. Wallace the next morning. His advice was simple. Do not confront them privately. If they claim to have a written agreement, let them produce it. Communicate only in writing and preferably through me. That was hard because my phone exploded that afternoon. Brooke texted, "I cannot believe you are making me do this." Then, "You know what you promised." Then Mom remembers. Then Dad remembers too. Then came a message from my mother. "You need to fix this before it becomes legal. Before it becomes legal. Not before it becomes wrong. Legal." I screenshotted it and sent it to Mr. Wallace. He replied, "Good, keep collecting." So I did. I did not answer Brooke's calls. I did not respond when my mother left a voicemail crying about betrayal. I did not reply when Travis texted from an unknown number. "You will look stupid when people see what we have." Mr. Wallace sent another letter. It said nobody had permission to enter, occupy, receive mail at, or represent themselves as residents of my property. It demanded Brooke withdraw any utility request connected to my address. It also demanded that she provide any document she claimed gave her the right to live in my home. For 48 hours, there was silence. Then Brooke made the biggest mistake of her life. She emailed my lawyer a scanned document called Family Housing Agreement, and my signature was at the bottom. I stared at the PDF on my laptop screen until the words blurred. The document claimed that I had agreed to let Brooke live in my upstairs bedroom for 12 months, rent-free, in exchange for family support, emotional companionship, and household contributions as needed. It claimed my parents would have reasonable access to the property for family care purposes. It claimed Brooke could receive mail at my address, and at the bottom was a signature that looked like mine if someone had studied my handwriting for 5 minutes and then gotten bored. My first feeling was fear. My second feeling was rage. My third feeling was colder. Focus. I called Mr. Wallace. He had already seen it. "This is poorly done," he said. "That is supposed to make me feel better. It should. A good forgery is dangerous. A bad forgery is useful." Useful, yes, because now it is evidence. We went through it line by line. The date was 2 days before I closed on the house, which meant I could not have promised someone a room in a house I did not own yet. The agreement used a last name from my broken engagement years earlier, a name I had never legally taken. The signature looked copied from an old birthday card. And the address was wrong. My house was on Bellevue Drive. The agreement said Bellevue. Brooke had forged a document so badly that even the street name was misspelled. Mr. Wallace told me not to relax. Bad does not mean harmless. We respond properly. I was nervous walking into the police station. "Did you sign this?" he asked. "No." "Did you give anyone permission to use your address?" "No." "Did your mother have permission to open your mail?" "No." He wrote everything down. When I left the station, my hands were not shaking. For the first time, I was not begging my family to respect a boundary. I was documenting what happened when they did not. Brooke found out about the report by dinner time. My phone filled with messages again. My mother left a voicemail that sounded furious and terrified. "You filed a police report against your own sister. Do you understand what you are doing to this family?" My father called next. He did not yell. "Your mother is beside herself," he said. "What about me?" He sighed. "Jenna, no." "What about me?" "She opened my mail. You entered my house. Brooke tried to move in. Then someone created a fake agreement with my name on it. What about me?" There was silence. I heard him breathing. I heard the old version of my father searching for a way to make my tone the problem. Finally, he said, "Nobody meant for it to go this far. That is not an apology. It is complicated." "No," I said. "It is simple. You all thought I would be too scared to protect myself." He did not answer, so I ended the call. A week later, Mr. Wallace called me into his office. "Your family wants to discuss a resolution," he said. "What do they want?" "Brooke wants you to withdraw the police report, tell the family the document was a misunderstanding, and contribute to her first month's rent somewhere else." I laughed, but there was no humor in it. "That is not a resolution. That is a ransom note." "I agree. What do you recommend?" "A controlled meeting. Not at your house. Not alone. My office. Recorded with consent. They can explain their position, and we can present yours." I did not want to see them. But I did want to hear what they would say when they could not pound on my door, cry in my kitchen, or use the neighbors as an audience. So I agreed. The meeting happened the following Thursday. Brooke arrived with Travis and my parents. My mother wore pearls, which she always did when she wanted to look respectable. My father looked tired. Travis looked angry. Brooke looked like a woman who had spent the morning convincing herself she was still the victim. Mr. Wallace began calmly. "This meeting is being recorded. Everyone consents?" One by one, they said yes. My mother started first. "This has gotten out of hand." Mr. Wallace said, "My client agrees." My mother blinked, surprised he had not let her own the sentence. She continued, "Jenna has always been independent. We are proud of that, but independence can become selfishness. Even in a lawyer's office, she could not help herself." Mr. Wallace looked at his notes. "Mrs. Miller, did you open mail addressed to Jenna at her former apartment?" My mother's mouth tightened. "I saw an envelope." That was not the question. When my father shifted, my mother said, "Yes." "Did you use it to find her new address?" I was concerned. "Yes or no?" "Yes." Did Jenna invite you into her home that Thursday? My mother looked down. My father answered quietly, no. Did Jenna give Brooke permission to move in? Brooke snapped. She knew I needed help. That was not the question. Brooke crossed her arms. No, she said. The room went quiet. One word, no. The word they had spent weeks trying to erase. Mr. Wallace placed the fake agreement on the table. Who created this document? Nobody moved. Travis looked at Brooke. Brooke looked at my mother. My mother looked at her hands. My father closed his eyes. That was when I knew it had not been just Brooke. My mother whispered, it was only supposed to make Jenna talk. My chest tightened. You made that? I found a template online, she said quickly. Brooke typed it. We were not going to use it in court. You sent it to my lawyer? Brooke finally looked at me. Because you forced us? I forced you to forge my signature? It was not like that? What was it like? She opened her mouth. Nothing came out. For the first time in my life, Brooke had no story ready. Mr. Wallace leaned back. My client will not withdraw her report today. She will not call this a misunderstanding. She will not pay Brooke's rent. What she will consider is this. You will sign a written admission that the housing agreement was created without Jenna's consent, that Jenna never gave anyone permission to live at her property, and that none of you will contact her except through agreed channels. You will also reimburse her for the locksmith, security cameras, attorney letter costs, and the utility correction fee. My mother looked offended. You want money from us? I spoke for the first time. No, want my money back? Brooke scoffed. You are unbelievable. I turned to her. No, Brooke. Unbelievable is trying to steal a room in my house and still thinking I owe you rent. Travis muttered something. Mr. Wallace looked at him. Would you like that on the record? Travis went silent. The meeting lasted 40 minutes. By the end, my father signed first, then my mother, then Brooke, with tears running down her face and hatred in her eyes. Travis refused until Mr. Wallace reminded him he was on video trying to force my lock and had sent threatening messages from an unknown number. He signed too. They did not apologize, not really. But they admitted the truth in writing. Sometimes, when people refuse to give you remorse, documentation is the next best thing. The reimbursement came in 3 separate payments. My father sent his with no note. My mother sent hers with a message that said, I hope you are happy. Brooke sent $1 short, because even in defeat she needed a little performance. I paid the last dollar myself and saved a copy of the signed admission in a folder. Not because I wanted to stare at it, because I wanted proof for the days when guilt tried to rewrite the story. For years, my family's power over me lived in confusion. They hurt me, then acted shocked when I named the wound. They took from me, then called me cold when I asked for something back. They pushed past my boundaries, then accused me of building walls. But paper does not gaslight you. Video does not forget. A signed admission does not tell you that you are overreacting. By Thanksgiving, the family had split into 2 groups. Some thought I had gone too far by involving a lawyer and the police. Others quietly admitted they would have done the same thing if it had happened to them. I noticed the first group mostly included relatives who had never been asked to sacrifice their homes for Brooke's convenience. Funny how generous people become with property they do not own. My mother invited me to Thanksgiving anyway. Her text came 3 days before the holiday. We should all be together. Bring a side dish. No apology, no acknowledgement, just bring a side dish. I stared at the message not because I was tempted, but because I was amazed by how little had changed inside her. I replied, I am hosting my own Thanksgiving this year. I hope yours is peaceful. She wrote back almost immediately. So now you have your own family. I looked around my kitchen. There was flour on the counter because I had been practicing pie crust. There was a secondhand dining table I had sanded myself. There were curtains I had hung after 3 crooked attempts. Upstairs, 2 empty rooms waited for me to decide what they would become. Maybe an office, maybe a reading room, maybe one room would stay empty for a while, because empty space can feel peaceful when nobody is trying to claim it. I typed yes. Then I put the phone down. Olivia came over on Thanksgiving morning with sweet potatoes, cranberry sauce, and flowers so large she had to carry them with both arms. Happy first holiday in the house, she said. I tried to answer, but my throat tightened. She hugged me without making a speech. That was one reason Olivia felt safer than family. She did not turn every emotion into a debt. We cooked too much food for 2 people. We burned the first tray of rolls. We dropped a spoon behind the stove and decided it belonged to the house now. Mrs. Alvarez from across the street knocked and brought tamales because, she said, a first Thanksgiving in a new home needed extra food. I nearly cried again. Not because of the food. Because kindness feels different when it does not come with a hook. After dinner, I showed Olivia the bedroom Brooke had tried to claim. I had painted it soft green and turned it into a reading room with an armchair, a small bookshelf, and a lamp that warmed the walls at night. Olivia stood in the doorway. This is perfect. I smiled. I know. The smaller bedroom became my office. I put my desk near the window and hung a corkboard above it with bills, reminders, and one photograph of me standing on the porch the day I got the keys. In the photo, I looked exhausted. I also looked free. In December, my father came by alone. I was outside wrapping lights around the porch railing when he pulled up. He got out slowly, hands in his coat pockets. He looked older than I remembered. Not weak, just smaller, like anger had been holding him upright for years, and now he was tired. I stayed on the porch. He stopped at the bottom step and looked up at the camera. "I guess that thing is always recording," he said. Yes, he nodded. For a while, neither of us spoke. Then he said, "Your mother should not have opened your mail." "No, she should not have." "And Brooke should not have shown up like that." "No, she should not have." He looked at the blue door. "I should not have gone along with it." I waited for him to add a but. He did not. "I am sorry," he said. The child in me wanted to run down the steps and accept everything. The adult in me stayed where she was. "Thank you," I said. His eyes reddened. "Your mother is still angry." "I know." "Brooke says you destroyed her reputation." "Brooke destroyed her reputation when she forged my signature." He flinched, but he did not argue. That mattered. "I do not know how to fix all this," he said. You do not fix it by pretending it did not happen." He nodded slowly. I took a breath. "I am willing to meet you for coffee sometime. A public place, just you and me. But nobody comes into my house until trust is rebuilt. Not for holidays, not for emergencies, not because someone feels bad. Trust first." His face tightened with old pride, but he swallowed it. "All right," he said. I almost invited him inside. The habit rose automatically. He looked cold. He looked sad. He was my father. But then I remembered the day he stood in my hallway and told me I was alone anyway. I stayed on the porch. For some people, that would not sound like revenge. They want shouting. They want a dramatic courtroom. They want someone dragged away while the hero smiles. But real revenge for me was quieter. It was sleeping through the night because nobody had a key. It was walking past empty rooms without guilt. It was watching my sister explain herself to relatives without me rescuing her from the truth. It was seeing my mother finally understand that tears no longer opened my door. It was making my father speak to me like a person instead of a resource. Most of all, it was keeping the house. The blue front door stayed blue. The lock stayed changed. The spare key went to Olivia, sealed in an envelope for emergencies, because she understood that an emergency key was not a master key to my life. In January, Brooke sent one final message from a new number. It said, "I hope that house keeps you warm, because family will not." I read it while sitting in my green reading room, wrapped in a blanket, with tea on the table beside me. Rare snowflakes fell outside the window. The heat hummed. The lights glowed. The house was quiet in a way that felt holy. For once, I did not need to respond. I blocked the number. Then I turned another page in my book. That was the ending they never expected. I did not become cruel. I did not become bitter. I did not stop loving people. I simply stopped handing love to anyone who used it like a crowbar. My sister said my house was worth living in. She was right. But not because it had 3 bedrooms, a fenced backyard, or a kitchen full of morning light. It was worth living in because every wall, every lock, and every quiet room finally respected the one word my family never did. No. And the best revenge was that, for the first time in my life, no one inside my home had the power to ignore it.